I guess we're allowed to make speeches with absolutely no sleep. Is that right? Are we? You may hear some very bad things coming out. I just came in from Iowa. We love you too. We love you too. And they said, you know what we could do? We can cancel New Hampshire, Mr. Trump, and you can stay. And I said, well, how big a crowd? Full house. I said, there's no way we're canceling. So I'm going here, and I'm going right back. I'm going right back. But, you know, last night we had an exciting night because I did something that was a little bit unusual. The fact is, and I said it, and, you know, I have a very good relationship with Fox, but when somebody doesn't treat you properly, you got to be tough. You got to be strong. You can't let them push you around. And that grows, you know, it goes for the country. When you're not treated properly, you have to stick up for your rights. And if I'm your leader, we're going to stick up for the rights of the country. We're not going to let, like, the 10 sailors 2 weeks ago where they're in a begging position with their hands up, and then Kerry is trying to say, like, it's normal. It's not normal. It's called you fix the boat, you shift them back up. You don't make a big deal out of it. So for 2 days, and they're sitting on their knees, and they're kneeling, and they have their hands up, and they have guns at their heads. It's not going to happen anymore, folks. Let me tell you, it's not going to happen anymore. And the only reason we got them back is we're giving them $150 billion the following day. $150 billion. That deal is so sad. So one thing I can't do, you know, I would have done something it would have been so different. Number one, we would have had our hostages back long before we started. And I went into that. It would have been very easy because we wouldn't have started unless they gave them back. And then we would have doubled up the sanctions. You know the story. We would have got them back. 100%. Number two, I would have never given them the $150 billion. Other than that, we would have had a fine negotiation. But the sad part is I'll go in and I can never get that money back. And do you see where they're spending the money? They're spending it in Europe. They put money into Italy. They're spending it in Russia for missiles. I didn't know they were allowed to do missiles, right? They're not supposed to do missiles, but they're spending it everywhere but the United States. So they're buying 118 Airbus planes. They're made in Europe, right? They're not buying Boeings. Why are they allowed to buy Airbus planes, okay? We are run by stupid people, folks, and it's going to end. It's going to end. So last night was amazing. I'll talk about it for a couple of seconds. You notice I don't use teleprompters, right? No teleprompters. This means we can do current events. There's Big Al. Stand up, Al. My vet. I love my vet. He's the best guy. He's the best guy, I'll tell you. He's a dedicated guy. He's a good man. And he probably liked me even more. You know, he likes me anyway. But last night I raised $6 million for the vets. What? Well, we'll be doing that soon now.
It was on your list, I tell you.
Yeah, good. We're going to be doing that soon. So, well, we spent a lot of time up in New Hampshire with the vets, and Al has been helping us a lot and some of Al's friends, and it's been amazing. And you have a big vet problem up here. The vets are not treated right. Illegal immigrants are treated better than our vets in many cases. That can't happen. So it can't happen. What happened last night, though, was amazing because I wasn't treated right. I did something that was very risky, and I think it turned out great because I'm on the front page of every paper. I'm getting more publicity than if I, you know, I don't know. And I had an amazing soldier last night, John, who you saw get up, and John Wayne, we call him. And he got up and he made an amazing speech. He lost his leg. He was a real guy and is a real guy, and he talked about the vets and talked about the problems and talked about what he went through and how hard it was. And when he left, they gave him a whole big box of pills, and they say, good luck. And he didn't know what to do, and he gave, I don't know if you got to see it last night, but it was an amazing story of how difficult it is. And now he's in great shape. He has a fantastic family and wife. They got him through it, but it was a tough time for him. And the way he explained it, I've never heard it explained that way. Not even Al explained it that good, I had to tell you. So, Al, you're going to have to take lessons. I'm going to send you to meet him. But he was really fantastic, and it was an incredible evening. And this way, we made our point, and Fox was very nice. They very much wanted me for the debate, and they tried very much. And I wanted to do it, frankly. I actually asked them, I said, give $5 million to the vets, and I'll consider it. And they probably had a hard time doing that maybe. But and I understand that. But I said, give $5 million, make a donation, $5 million to the vets, and I'll come and do your debate. And they were really unable psychologically to do that. And I said, that's okay. We went out and raised $6 million, which is fantastic. So it worked out. So it all works out. It all works out. You know, so we have a big day coming up. We have number one, we have February 1st. I think we're going to do really well in Iowa. I think we're going to even surprise. We're leading in the Iowa polls now, and leading pretty good. And Cruz, who's in second place, he got really pummeled last night. Actually, I'm glad I wasn't there because I guess all of that, he got pummeled. Wow. And you know, they didn't even mention that he was born in Canada, right? You know, it's... When you're born in Canada, you're not supposed to be running for president of the United States. Prime Minister of Canada, no problem. No. He can run for Canada. There he is, that's right. He can run Prime Minister of Canada, no problem. But, so he got beaten up pretty badly last night. I don't know what's going to happen to his poll numbers, but probably they're not going up. And I was just told that ours went up because of what we did last night. Isn't that something? You know, it tells you a little bit about risk, because risk is interesting. You know, in theory, I would have rather have done the debate because you're leading. You don't want to change the wheels, right? You want to just go, get it done, win, and go to the next one. And I took a chance. I mean, I took a chance, and it's something you have to do, but I took a chance, and we did something. And I don't even know what the end result. I heard we went up, but whatever the result is, I did the right thing. I did the right thing because I did something great for veterans. And when you think of it, these politicians are on that debate. Most of them don't know what they're doing. They're talking, and we're raising money for incredible people, especially when you heard John last night. So there was something really nice about it, and it could not have been better. It was a 10. You know, as they say, when something works out, it was a 10. And I didn't know it was going to be a 10. I'll tell you what, I started getting good feelings when I went to the arena. It was a beautiful theater, but it only held 750 people. We had thousands of people outside, thousands. And when you see that kind of, what would you call love? I mean, really love. It was a great feeling. So we had an amazing time. I just want to show you numbers just came out because I love to talk about polls. I always say when you're number one, you talk. And all the time these politicians, they ask me, why do you always mention polls? I say, because I'm number one and you're number 7. You know, it's true. True. Here's Drudge. By the way, he's an amazing guy, Drudge. But they have a poll. Choice for president. Last night, came out late last night. Trump, 65%. Believe that? 65. Cruz is 17. Rubio's 6. And I won't even mention the other one. He's so low. Oh. Let me give you a hint. He spent about $125 million so far on the debate. He likes Common Core, and he's weak on the border. Remember, they come in as an act of love, right? How do you spend $100 and some odd million and you're at the bottom of the pack? How do you do that? You spend $100 and some odd million. I could give that money to you. Where's somebody? I could give it to anybody. I can pick many people out that do a lot better than this, right? With that kind of money. Time magazine has a poll. Trump 53%, Rubio 12, Cruz 7. Slate has a poll. Trump 46, 18, 13. I mean, these are amazing polls. National poll, CNN has been great, 41, 19. Zogby has been actually great, 45, 13. I mean, these polls are great. Now, we got to get back to the important stuff here. New Hampshire, right? This just came out. In New Hampshire, we're leading 34-16. We're leading 36-12. 36-12. In Florida, we have 48-20. Florida. Come on, New Hampshire, let's get with it. 48. 48. I mean, 48 is serious stuff. So we have a lot of great polls. Fox News in New Hampshire, 31-14, and 31-14 and 13. So we should be in really great shape. Yeah, and we're leading nicely in Iowa now. I see an Iowa poll just came out, 34-23-12. So it's really great. So But it all doesn't matter if you don't go and vote. And, you got to go out and vote. We got to, no matter what. I kid when I say this, but you may be feeling badly. Your wife may have said, I don't want to be with you anymore. I'm out. Or your husband. It does happen the other way, too, right? The husband could say, I'm out of here. No matter what it is, you may have lost your job. You may be in a state of major, major depression. Get up and vote. I will get rid of your depression. You'll be happy. You'll be happy. You're in depression because you can't get jobs anymore in this country that are any good. So we'll lift that depression, but you got to get out and vote. So important. On the 9th, in your case. So we start on the 1st in Iowa. That's going to be a big thing with the caucus. I'm going to be out there. Actually, right, I went from there to here, and now I'm going back. How loyal is that to New Hampshire? Seriously. Do I get points? That's true. Do I get points? My people said, no, you shouldn't mention that. I said, shouldn't I mention it? They said, no, you shouldn't mention that, Mr. Trump. That's, a little bit not nice. I am going to mention it. I mean, everyone said, don't do it. They'll understand. They could have called you last night. It's been canceled. I just felt guilty. I felt guilty. That's why when somebody like Jeb Bush, who spent $100 and some odd million, and he's low in the polls, I've spent almost nothing and I'm high. Isn't that a beautiful thing? That's what the country needs, right? That's what the country needs. But see, now I'm changing it. Now I'm changing. I have to tell you, I'm changing because two things. Number one, I feel guilty. The press keeps saying, why do you spend so little money? I said, because I'm number one. And, it's funny. I get so much airtime that I was supposed to have spent up until this date exactly $40 million. And I spent like peanuts. Peanuts. So I'm like $36 million under budget or something, right? And I think that's great. As business people, we have a lot of business people in this room, a lot of young people that are smart. But it's something beautiful about that. In the old days, there was a man named Charles O. Finley. Anybody ever hear of him? Charles O., right? Baseball. He owned the Oakland A's. He had the lowest payroll in baseball by far. And he had the best team. Won the World Series 3 times, right? And I said, what this guy knows, 76, 77, 78. And who bought all his players? George Steinbrenner, right? Steinbrenner used to Reggie Jackson, Catfish Hunter. And George was a very good friend of mine, one of my best friends. He was a difficult guy, but he was a great guy. And he said, boy, that guy's crazy. He would just get this player from nowhere. Guy turns out to be a superstar, and then I pay him millions. But it was good for the Yankees, and it was good for Charles O. But there's something beautiful about that. We're number 1 in the world on education in terms of cost per pupil, right? And we're number 28 in the world in terms of the quality education. We have third world countries that are much better than us. You have Norway, you have Sweden, you have China, you have certain countries that are number 1, 2, and 3, but we are number 28, okay? And yet we're number 1 by far per pupil. And when you have Common Core, where your children are being educated from Washington, what do these people know about the people and the children of New Hampshire? They don't know. And I see women, I met 2 weeks ago, I was up here, and I met women that are just involved with their school, their local school. The dedication, and actually 2 of them, their sons had graduated and their daughter had graduated. And they were telling me it doesn't matter. They love it. They love doing it. Their kids are gone. They still have a good feeling for the school because they love their kids. And even though the kids are now in college, but they were showing and how the parents are so involved. You can't do that from Washington. You can't do it from Washington. It's called the dumbing down of America. Well, it is. I mean, it is. And by the way, the folks in Washington, they make plenty of money. They're worried about that. Now, some are good. I mean, some are very nice people, I'm sure, but you got to do it locally. So Common Core is a bad thing. Borders, good thing. Second Amendment, good thing. Great thing. How about great thing, okay? So we're going to help you out on your Second Amendment because we're not going to be touching it. They keep taking pieces and chunks, and you need that. When you look at what went on in Paris, where you're not allowed, Paris is the greatest because you're not allowed a gun, right? You can't have a gun in Paris. So this is your ultimate example. You cannot have a gun in Paris, in France, one of the toughest nations in the world, toughest city in the world, I think, for guns. Well, the bad guys have the guns. So they walk in, and they did the magazine a year before, by the way. But they walk into this place, and they just go boom, boom, boom. No retaliatory fire. Nobody has a gun. And no matter who it is, and if that guy had a gun, and if Big Al had a gun, and if a couple of people had a gun, would have been a whole, the bullets are going now in the different direction. They're going this way. They're going cross. You wouldn't have had the problem. You would have had death. but you wouldn't have had the problem. So you lost in Paris 130 people, and you have many more going to die. You know, you have people that are tremendously badly hurt. You have the hospitals are loaded up with people. Same thing in California. You have the 14 people, these two horrendous married couple, radicalized, goes in, shoots 14 people that gave them wedding presents and wedding parties and everything else. I mean, they knew them. They knew all of them, and they went in and killed them. And you have a lot of people in the hospital there, too. No guns, you know, they had no guns. Even at the military base a year ago, we had the 5 soldiers. A couple of them were highly decorated, excellent marksmen. They had a gun-free zone. How stupid is that on a military? If we have to have a gun-free zone on a military base, I would end that first day. It's ending. But you know, I mean, just to me, when I see that, I mean, we trust our lives with the military and with the police. And by the way, I have to tell you, you have great, you know, I got endorsed by the New England whole police deal. And I've been endorsed by so many police. I don't know if they're endorsing anybody else. Every time I go to an area, the cops love Trump, okay? And I love them. I love them. They're great. They're great. They're great people. And, you know, they'll take one incident which was a mistake or something bad or some guy goes wacko or something, and it happens, and that'll be on television for weeks and weeks, and the 99.999% of the time you'd never see the good stuff. But we wouldn't even be sitting here if it wasn't for the police. So, you know, we have to be thankful. No easy job. No easy. And by the way, I thought they did a great job in California. That was not an easy one. And even Paris, I mean, you look at that, that was like a war when you look at it. I mean, take a look at the vehicles. There was nothing left of them with so many bullets and everything else. So we have to get tough and we have to get smart and we have to be vigilant. And it all began when I announced I was running for president. I came down the escalator, took a deep breath. It was like Academy Awards. Even now, look at all those cameras back there. Isn't that amazing? Wow, that's a lot of press for early in the morning when they're supposed to be, aren't you? They were supposed to be in Iowa. Boy, that's a lot of press. They're all supposed to be in Iowa. Maybe they just followed me in, you know? They'll be here starting Tuesday, but they're supposed to be in Iowa. That's a lot of press. I figured, oh, this is good. Maybe we won't have so many cameras on us, right? It's always tougher. You know, you make speeches. And every time there's like red lights, look at all the red lights. You have all these cameras going. These other guys come in, they make speeches. There's nobody around. They have no audience. They have no cameras. They have nobody. They make a speech. How about the one guy, O'Malley? He goes to, right? Was it New Hampshire or was it Iowa where he's sitting with the one guy? He sat with one guy for an hour. One guy, the weather was bad, it was a little snowy, so only one guy showed up, right? He sat with him for an hour, talked to him and talked to him and talked to him, and the guy leaves and the press says, well, will you vote for him? No, I won't be voting for him. This is a guy. Why is he running? I mean, I can say it about some Republicans too, but why is O'Malley running? What's that all about? O'Malley. You know what his claim to fame is? He was the mayor of Baltimore, okay? He left them a great, great blueprint for the future. O'Malley. And every time he gets up, he talks about Trump. I don't know. They talk about Trump. You know, when they talk about Trump, we talk back, right? But here's a guy, that guy has about, what do you think his chances of getting the nomination are? Yeah. He says slightly less than 0, yeah. What a waste of time. I guess he gets maybe more speech money. I do wonder why. You know, I see some of the guys, including on the Republicans, they have 0. One has less than 0. It was a mistake. I think it was a typo. They have a 0 and the arrow is pointing left. It's true. And I say, what does that mean? Does that mean less than 0? I'm trying to figure out, how do you have less than nothing, okay? And then and then you see him at the debates, you know. You see him, I don't want to mention the name Gilmore or anything like that, because I don't know him. I never heard of him. I don't know who he is, but I know he's at the debates. And, you know, I watched Pataki, who had nothing, 0. And I say, why do they hang in so long? I think if I had a 0, if I knew I was getting close to the 0 level, I'd go like this. I would bail out so fast. I mean, it can't be good for their brand, right? It can't be good for their brand. But it's been so interesting, the process. So I'm coming down the escalator, I see, and I said to my wife, boy, it takes guts. You know, it takes guts to run for president. I never did this stuff before, and that's why I'm so happy. You know, I love the way it's going. I never thought this would happen, where We have 22-point leads and 25-point leads, not 25. I mean 25-point leads. And first place in every single poll, statewide and nationwide. And we want to keep it that way. That's why you have to vote, by the way, but we want to keep it that way. And we're going to make our nation so great again. But I come down the escalator, and the whole thing was really based largely, and it was very important, it was based on trade, because I'm really good at that. Carl Icahn, and by the way, I want to read a couple of these because they were so great. Some of the money. But Carl Icahn last night gave $500,000 with one phone call. He's a great businessman. Richard Lefrak, big builder, gave $100,000. Howard Lorber, $100,000. A rich guy from New York. Here's a guy that 2 months ago would have loved his name, but now I don't know. He's going silent. I don't know. It sounds like he's getting a divorce. I don't know. Something's going. He didn't want his name mentioned, but he gave $1 million. A friend of mine. Phil Ruffin from Las Vegas gave $1 million. Ike Perlmutter, the head of Marvel, an amazing guy, an amazing businessman, and his wife Lori, they gave $1 million for the vets, all for the vets, you know. So I got to mention that name. So I came down and I started talking about illegal immigration to start off with, and it was a firestorm. You remember that. And you wouldn't even be talking about illegal immigration. And Sheriff Joe Arpaio just endorsed me. You saw that, right? So I was always the toughest on immigration. Everyone said, oh, that's terrible, he's too tough, terrible. Now they're all coming right to me. Now they're trying to even go to the other side of me. And all I have to do is say, Sheriff Joe endorsed me. That's the end of that, okay? Because Sheriff Joe is serious into that world. But you know what happened? It is true. People didn't think there was like the problem. And it was not even going to be a subject. And you remember the heat. Rush Limbaugh, who's an amazing guy, said, nobody has received more incoming after I announced than Donald Trump. He's never seen anything like it. And then people started saying he's right. And then you had tremendous crimes that were terrible. Kate in San Francisco was killed, shot in the back by a illegal immigrant, came over here 5 times. You had Jamil, this wonderful young guy, young, like 17-year-old kid, shot in the face 3 times, just walking down the street to see his father for no reason. They were out to get him, even though they never met him or anything. They just wanted to set an example. Disgusting. And recently, a couple of months ago, a woman, I mean, this is, by the way, many. You could look yesterday, you could look the day before, but a woman who was 65 years old, a veteran, raped, sodomized, and killed by an illegal immigrant. Shouldn't have been in the country. So we're going to build a wall, and we're going to have a great border, and we're not going to let people come in unless they come in legally. We're going to let them come in, but we want them to come in legally into this country. And you know the amazing thing, I go all over, and I don't think of New Hampshire as, because I know I have so many friends up here, it's incredible, and so many people, and it's such a beautiful place. I don't think of it in terms of heroin and drugs, right? You know, you just don't think. If you didn't know, because the picture of, you know, you see the streams and you see all the beautiful trees and you don't think of it. But every time I go, because I now have gotten to know so many people over the last couple of years, and such a big problem, right, with the heroin, and such a big problem. In fact, I hear it more here than I hear it any place in the country. It's a tremendous problem, and it comes over the southern border. We're going to stop it, folks. We're going to stop it. And then we have to help, because there are so many people, kids, but there are so many people that are addicted right now. We're going to help them. We got to help them because we got to get them through it. It's tough. It's so much easier if you don't start. You know, if you don't start. I always tell people, no drugs, no alcohol, no cigarettes. I say no cigarettes, okay? But no drugs. I told my kids, Ivanka said to me, Dad, you're driving me crazy with that. She's like 3 years old. She didn't even know what drugs and alcohol and cigarettes are. I said, Ivanka, no drugs, no alcohol, no cigarettes. She said, what are they? As she grow older, she'd say, Dad, okay, just leave me alone, you know. But I would literally just drum it into them because it's just so important. Well, here's a step that we're talking about because you have so many young people and other people, but you have so many young people in this area that are just, you know, just in trouble. We got to help them. We got to really help them. And we got to keep this crap out of here so that other people don't go for it. So sad. So sad. I should mention, I mean, I mentioned to one person I would do it. You know, I don't know how you feel about this, but I have to do it. So you have a newspaper up here, the Union Leader. Do you know about this newspaper? I'll be honest. Look, I don't care. The press is fine. Some are good, some are bad. But I have to give you, this guy's a bad guy. His name is Joe McQuaid. He's a bad guy. He's a bad person, and he uses his weight, pushes his weight around, thinks he's hot stuff, and all of a sudden, I announce I'm running, and he calls and he says, "Well, anytime you want to come see me, okay." So that's fine. I don't mind that. It's fine. And lots of things happen, strange things with him. And I see it over here, and I just have to give this because this is first of all, it's a dying paper. It's going to be dead soon. They had a Wall Street Journal article last week that was so devastating, and a lot of it's caused by McQuaid. He's incompetent. So what happens is he writes these editorials, these vicious editorials. But here's what's happened. During the course of the last 6 months, he's asked me for ads. In fact, I have a letter here. Can you believe how stupid this guy is? Listen to this. I just got this letter. Look. Holy mackerel, it's dated January. What's today's date? 29th. I got this letter today. Anyway, it says, "Hi, Amanda. Hope all is well. Ba, ba, ba. Holiday. Great. We want ads, okay?" Can you imagine the guy asking me for ads? Now, this has gone on for months and months and months. Every time I see him, "Oh, we need ads. We need ads." I actually took out ads. He asked me to take out ads. I took out some ads. For Doral in Miami. I don't know. I figured give him an ad. Get him off my back. The guy has bad news. So, okay. But much more importantly than that, so he's asking for ads all the time. He asked me to do a stupid debate. Now, the guy had a debate, remember? The day before Fox. So he decides because he's, McQuaid, and you used to have Loeb, who was a really smart guy. No, he was. And this guy is like he's like an ant compared to Loeb. Loeb was a respected guy and a real guy. And what happened is he calls and he says, "Would you do our debate?" I said, "I'll do it." First of all, I'd never debated before. The first big debate was the Fox debate, which set all records in the history of cable television, was the next day. I said, Joe, I'd like to do it, but it sounds strange. I'm doing it for you, and everybody's talking about the Fox, and nobody knew about this. He said, "Well, it's really important." I was the only one that didn't do it. I said, "I don't want to do it." And that was the one where Jeb Bush did it, and he made a fool out of himself. Do you remember? He destroyed himself. That was a disaster for Jeb Bush and a couple of others. But I said, "I can't do it. I won't do it." And it was very, he was very nasty. Then he calls, he said, James Foley, who we love, he said, "Would you make a speech on behalf of James Foley?" So I came up, I made a speech. "Would you give a contribution on behalf of James Foley?" So I gave $25,000. I think it was 10,000, 25,000, a lot of money. And I think that's great. I gave it to the parents of the foundation. Then he goes, "You have to do me a favor." Always calling, asking me for favors. What? This was a few weeks ago, just before he endorsed Christie. Christie's not, no, believe it? And by the way, Chris Christie's a friend of mine. Got no chance. Got no chance. Zero. He's gone down since he got the endorsement. So I get a call from Joe McQuaid, and he goes to me, he's a stupid man. He goes, "Donald, could you do me a favor?" What? "Chris Christie's not on the grown-up stage." They called it. He said he's on the children's stage. Could you do, meaning he didn't make the first stage. Could you do a tweet? Because I have between Facebook and Twitter and Instagram, I have like almost 12 million people. It's a lot. It's a lot of power. Could you tweet that Chris Christie should be on the big stage? I said, "Really? That's like hard to do." "Well, I would really appreciate it." I said, "Oy." So, okay. So I tweeted, "Too bad Chris Christie's not on the stage. Would be nice if he was." People called me up and said, "Well, what's that all about? What do you care?" I don't care. But he called me up, "Would you tweet?" But by the way, when he did that, I figured he was going to endorse Christie. But, who knows, right? I was very nice. Look, honestly, I was nice to him all through. Then he calls up, he goes, "Would you do me a favor? Would you come up and have lunch with me? I want to play a round of golf with you at this club," whatever the hell his club is. I think so. Yes. He wants to play a round of golf. He's got friends that want to play with. I said, "Joe, I'm not Obama. I don't have time. I don't have time." It's true. No, it's true. I can't do it. I can't do it. And it's so true. By the way, he's a bad guy. He's a liar. He's a bad guy. So he goes, "Well, it's really important. Well, how about coming up for lunch?" And, speaking of Obama, he keeps talking about the environmental problems. And yet, for Christmas, he took an old 747. He talks about the carbon footprint. We don't want carbon, the carbon footprint. Does anybody believe in the carbon footprint? But let's assume, if it is true, he takes an old 747 named Air Force One, flies it to Hawaii with his kids and his wife, which is fine, and flies it back. The carbon footprint, guess what? Not so good, right? Not so good. So this guy calls, he goes, I'd like to play a round of golf with you, and I'd like to have my friends join us. This is just what I want to do, play a round of golf with some guy I hardly even know him. But he's a very aggressive guy. You know, he throws his weight around. So I said, listen, Joe, I can't. He calls me again, calls my secretary. I'll get him to, okay. So I work out a lunch. I go up to this place, which is very nice. And he had a lot of people there. I'm shaking hands, taking pictures. They were really nice people. Everybody was nice. I'm standing there shaking hands, taking pictures, shaking hands. You know what I got out of it? One hamburger, a hamburger. That's what I got. I left, but I did it because, you know, I figured he's the editor of a newspaper. I might be nice to him. You always like to be nice to him, right? Then, no, but think of it. Now, just the whole thing is so incredible. So I don't do the forum. I help him with speeches. I make speeches. I do the Christie Twitter. I do the stuff. He wants ads. He wants everything. And then he endorses Christie. I say, that's okay. But then he just attacks me all the time and writes the most, he's a psycho. He writes the most, and I said to myself, I don't care if he picks me or not, because the paper, you know, it's down to nothing. It's down to the circulation is down the tubes. He's destroyed the paper. By the way, read the Wall Street Journal from 2 weeks ago. He's destroyed the paper. They say he has destroyed the paper. It all started when he got there. He now has his printing room is, I think, a kindergarten, right? It's, you know, it's right. They rented it out to a kindergarten. So the guy is a bad guy, but he writes these editorials about me. And he makes up quotes. He puts a quote where I'm saying, look at these yokels. I don't even know what the word yokel is. Look at these yokels. And he puts it in quotes. I never said yokels. I want to see, is there a lawyer in the house? Why don't we sue this dope? Huh? You want to sue him for me? Will you give me a good deal? Huh? No, but you want to, I'd sue him. It's so dishonest. But he writes editorials and he puts them on the front page. And I say this, see, here's the beauty of me. When we have a dirty dog like that who's no good, who's a failure, he's a failure. His paper will be closed within the next year or two, okay? Now, when we have a dirty dog like that, at least I have a microphone where I can speak back. And I say to myself, you know, it's so negative. I hate to be doing it. But here's a guy who's truly a dishonest guy. Here's a guy who's a bad guy. I have so much correspondence where he's asking for ads and all this stuff, asking for, you got to go back, check out my tweets. Look at the Christie tweet. It was so like crazy. It was like crazy. I'm saying, why am I doing this? I'm doing it for the guy. He's going, please do it. Please do it. He should be on the main stage. I said, but McQuaid, he doesn't qualify for the main stage. But he should be there anyway. The guy's a loser. Okay, so check it out. Your paper guy is bad. He's a bad guy. And you know, it's always good to have a real paper in town, not a paper that wants ads. Probably if I would have given him ads, I would have gotten the endorsement. Who the hell knows? Probably I would have. Maybe if I did the debate, I would have gotten. I mean, why wouldn't you give me the endorsement? I mean, who's better than me? And I'm going to win we're going to win. So I love to bring it out. You know what? I love to bring it. That's one of the things I like about Twitter. I'm able to go do in, you know, a few words. If somebody hits me, I can hit them back. You know, in the old days, I couldn't do it. When you have 12 million people between Twitter and Facebook, that's like owning the New York Times without the losses, you know? You just go bing, bing, they hit you. You go bing, 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 bing. All of a sudden, they're like devastated. They're calling up. So anyway, so watch that guy because he's a very dishonest person, and you're probably not going to be able to watch him much longer. He'll probably have to move out of town. So when I did what I did, I said, borders, we have to watch. We have to watch all these different things. But after Paris, it changed. And CNN, who's back there right now with that beautiful camera, that big, beautiful, expensive one that costs about $200,000 for a thing. You know, they're getting smaller and more expensive. Do you ever notice? The technology is unbelievable. They can press a button, it gets sent to the studio. It's like the most incredible. That's why you can't make any mistakes. Because you'll be on television before you walk off the platform. It's crazy. But CNN does a poll, and the poll comes out, who's best on ISIS? Trump. Who's, by far, I don't mean by a little bit. I mean, you know, Trump has like 58%. And that's when you had, at that time, 15, 16 people. Who's best on the border? Trump. Who's best on the economy? Who's best on life? Who's got the best personality? No, not Trump. That way. These are my people. These are my people. That's funny. That's actually quite funny. We could go on like that all day. Actually, one of the things they had me is I have the most loyal people. I had the most loyal people. They do say that. They do say that. And I made a joke last week. I said I could do something in the middle of Fifth Avenue. Do you remember? And the press said, oh, what and my people would never leave. No, I'm laughing. They're laughing. We had a huge audience. And they're laughing. I'm laughing. I said I could do X. Nothing wrong with it. Next day, oh, Trump says it's shooting. These people are the worst. Are the worst. And basically, what I say is we have the most loyal people. And the polls have said that. That, in fact, you ever notice where they say, who's going to stick no matter what? Trump, 69%. Other guys, like 9%. So when they go, I mean, I have people, these are my people. And by the way, the 69, then who's probably going to stick? I'm into the 90s, okay? In other words, I don't even think I have to campaign anymore. Why am I even wasting my time? I don't have to campaign. I can leave here right now. They're going to vote for me. Anyway, no, I love my people. I mean, I love my people. There's an honesty. But you know what it is? They want to see our country be great again. It's very simple. These are incredible people. These people are incredible people. And it doesn't matter whether I'm in New Hampshire, whether I'm in Iowa, no matter where I go. Dallas, Texas, we had 21,000 people in the Mavericks Arena. Mobile, Alabama, doesn't matter. They're like people. You would love them. They would love you. It's a silent majority that I now call the noisy majority, right? It's a noisy because they're... And you remember a couple of weeks ago when Nikki Haley, who's a good woman, but she made a speech after the president's speech. President's speech wasn't so hot. And Nikki, in her speech, and I'm friendly with her, but I didn't like her speeches so much at the beginning because she said, angry that Donald Trump, he was usually referring to me, angry. And they hit me with it, and I was up on a stage doing something. They said, are you angry? And I said, actually, I am angry. It was during the debate, right? Now, if I was a politician, I would say, oh, no, I'm not angry. Things are just wonderful. Okay? And remember the question right after she gave it. And there was a tremendous backlash against what she had said. It was a tremendous backlash. And by the end of the day, she said, no, Donald Trump has a right to be angry, and he's a friend of mine, he's a supporter of mine. It was a much different tone. And I'm not blaming her. I'm saying fine. But we have a right to be angry, folks. We have a right. We have $19 trillion. Our vets are being taken care of badly. We give this beautiful service. You want a license to an illegal immigrant? No problem. You want hospitalization? I mean, the whole thing is crazy. They have a town in California where the town council wants to be taken over by illegal immigrants. In other words, the whole town, they're going to have them running the town. Now, I don't know if it's going to happen, but it was on the other day. Illegal immigrants want to take over the city council. No citizens. This is what we're getting to. This is where we're coming. And nobody wants to fight them because it's not politically correct, okay? Okay? Nobody wants to fight them. No, but think of it. Nobody wants to fight them. So we're going to put our country back on track, okay? We're going to put it back. And in a nutshell, and I'll tell you what. I saw one of these guys that I'm running against the other day. They said, we think we can balance the budget within 25 years. I said, 25 years? You've been seeing that, where they're coming in with these balancing budgets, 25 years, 24 years, 21 years. I mean, you get great guys to run your agencies, right? You say, see if you can cut them 4%, 5%. Instead of going up 8% every year, 6%, 4%, 10%, cut them. But you need the right people. The problem is in the agencies with everything. We have political hacks. We have guys that gave money and contributions to the Jebs of the world, to Ted Cruz, who's totally controlled by the oil industry, to these people that are running for office, and they get the jobs, and they're no good at it. They're no good. And then when we have to negotiate with China, instead of using Carl Icahn, who's a billionaire many times over, who doesn't want 10 cents, he would love to do it. It's sport. Number one, he loves the country. Number two, it's sport. He would love to straighten out the problem with China. We have a $500 billion trade deficit with China, okay? I want Carl Icahn or one of our great business people to do it. I know them all. And we're going to have with Japan, with China, we're going to have our best people negotiating, folks, okay? And we're going to get it down to what it should be. You know, if you look, and I say this, and it's rough, but I get along great with China and the Chinese people. I've made great deals with them. I have the biggest bank in the world as a tenant of mine in Manhattan in one of my buildings, the biggest bank in the world. And I sell condos to the Chinese. With Mexico, I have a great relationship. The problem is, and I employ thousands and thousands of Hispanics, and they're fantastic. The problem is their leaders are too smart for our leaders. I mean, there's a story in the Wall Street Journal yesterday about Mexico. I don't know if anybody saw it, about the tremendous corruption and all the problems. And all the things I say, they're all right. I was right. I was way ahead of schedule. But the leaders are too smart for our leaders, and they're too cunning for our leaders. They're cunning, they're smart, they're sharp. They don't want to house somebody in prison for 30 years when the United States will do it, even though they send them over the border and they kill people before you get them. And then we have to take care of them for 40 years for the rest of their lives. Or you have the anchor babies. I was right about the anchor babies. A woman's pregnant. She steps across the border. She has a baby. Congratulations. We take care of that baby for 90 years or however long the baby lives. It doesn't work that way. Let me tell you, I was right about it. Remember, everyone said, well, if you're born here, automatically you're a citizen. It doesn't work that way. It doesn't say that. And they have said for years, if I didn't bring it up, it was standard routine law for people to say, if you're born on our soil, that baby is yours. So a woman from someplace in South America is here. She's not legal for our country. She steps across, has the baby here. The baby's ours. No, it doesn't work that way. It doesn't work that way. And by the way, try pulling that stunt. Try pulling that stunt in Mexico or any of the countries in South America. They'd laugh you right the hell out of the country, okay? They'll laugh you right. He says they'll shoot you. But they'll laugh you right the hell out of the country. So what happened is all of a sudden people said, can you imagine Donald Trump said that baby is not a U.S. citizen? Now, Ted Cruz may not be a U.S. citizen, right? But he's an anchor baby. No, he's an anchor baby. Ted Cruz is an anchor baby in Canada. But Canada doesn't accept anchor babies. They just waited a long time. Okay. But look, it is a problem for him, by the way. I think that's one of the reasons he's crashing. I think that's one of the reasons he's a nervous wreck, too. He's figuring, what the hell happened? Remember when I first brought that up? Everybody said, oh, that doesn't mean anything. That was about a week ago. Now they're saying, I think his career is over, right? No, he can continue to be a U.S. senator. How about this? He's a citizen of Canada, and he was a senator from Texas, and he's a citizen of Canada, joint with the U.S. How the hell does that work? But he said he didn't know he was a citizen of Canada. And he didn't know about Goldman Sachs loaning him money. And he didn't know about Citibank loaning him money. Other than that, he's got a very good memory, okay? Oh, these politicians. What are we going to do with these politicians? It's not going to be that way with me. And one of the things, and I have to say, because they love it in New Hampshire, it's true, politicians, all talk, no action. They're never going to get you there, folks, I can tell you. I know them all. I know them all. I know them all. One of the things that to me, so important, I'm self-funding, right? I'm self-funding my campaign. I'm putting up my own money. When I take a plane up here, I'm paying for it. When I drive over here, I'm paying for it. When I turned down, in fact, one of the guys that gave $1 million last night, thank you very much. I don't know what the hell he said, but it sounds good. He didn't sound like a protester. I love the protest. You know, I like the protesters because they always show how many people are in a room. That's why I like, because the cameras otherwise will never show. So I always love protesters, especially when they're up in the outer banks of a stadium and they have to show. They hate to show those protesters. They like them right around here. But we're self-funding. I'm self-funding my campaign. And one of the guys last night got up. He gave $1 million to the vets. A very rich guy, great guy from Las Vegas, Phil. And he said, I gave millions of dollars to Donald Trump to run, and he sent it right back to me. He said, I don't want your money. He said, I never had that before. Phil's saying, that never happened before. But Hillary's got a lot of banking money, and all these guys, everyone other than me, they're all taking all of this vast amount of money and from people, and they have control. I mean, that's why Ted Cruz didn't want people to say that he's got on his financial disclosure form, he didn't want to put Goldman Sachs down. He didn't want to put Citibank down because he wants to have you think he's Robin Hood. You know, he's going to save you from the banks. But unfortunately, the banks have him. Goldman Sachs will call, Ted, this is what we want this week. Make sure you get it. Remember that loan you got, Ted? So, that's the way it works. I mean, look, not that way, that I'm having fun. But pretty close. But I'm self-funding. I tell the story. Ford, I love the Ford plant because it's the ultimate, where they're building a $2.5 billion plant in Mexico. And I wouldn't want that to happen. And then they're going to make cars, they're going to put them into this country, totally no tax, no nothing. And I would tell the guys at Ford, build it in Michigan. Okay, build it in maybe New Hampshire, but let's have Michigan. Yeah, we'll get you plenty of other things. Okay, let's build it in this country. Do we agree? Okay, who the hell cares? We'll get you plenty. We're gonna get you plenty. Hey, by the way, New Hampshire, New England, you guys got screwed. I mean, you lost so many businesses. I mean, you look at those businesses, and it's wonderful to say after 20 years you've converted them to senior citizen housing and stuff, But honestly, that's not where the money is, and that's not, you need jobs. You need jobs, not service stuff. You need jobs. And we got to take it back, and we're going to take it back. We're going to take it back. But I would have said, you got to build it here, you got to build it here. And they would say no, and I would say, well, then we're going to charge you a tax, and every time you drive a car over that border, you're going to pay a big tax. If you're not going to build here, you're going to pay a big tax, because it doesn't do us any good to let them build this massive plant in Mexico, close plants here, take jobs. New England and New Hampshire knows it better than anybody because of what you've been through. I mean, you were decimated, almost, I would say, more than any place else. NAFTA, okay, real beauty. Okay, it's a good idea. Guy's got a hell of a voice. But we are going to change that around. We're going to bring jobs back in. We're going to create jobs. When the college kids who are just choking, one of the questions I get more than any, they say, Mr. Trump, I borrowed money. I'm in college. I can't get a job. I'm going to graduate. I can't get a job. Number one, the colleges are charging too much, because what happened is they're getting money. I'm telling you, if you look at college costs, the way they're going up, it's a lot of nonsense. What's happening is the kids are conduits. So the college sees a kid, the colleges get whatever they want. They loan the kids more money from the government. So the college gets government money. The kids are choking, and the cost of colleges are going up far, far, far too much. And we got to do something about it. It's not fair to the kids. We're going to do something about that. That's a real problem, because they don't care. But here's the story. The kids get out, they don't have a job. I'm going to bring jobs back from China, from Japan, from Mexico. We're going to bring our jobs back, folks. We're going to bring back, and when you say repeal NAFTA, don't kid yourself. You're going to see a lot of things repealed. You're going to see plenty of things repealed. But we're going to bring our jobs back, because we're like the stupid people. We're led by stupid people. We're led by incompetent people. We're led by people that have no business instinct, and in a certain way, they have no heart. Because they're hurting people. They're hurting people. We're losing our jobs. China is the greatest theft in the history of the world, what they've done to this country. We have rebuilt, single-handedly, we have rebuilt China. They've taken our jobs, they've taken our base, they've taken our money, and I love China. They get along great with me. I told you I have all these people. I do business with China. They agree with me. They can't agree. But what I'm angry at isn't China. And I'm not angry at their officials if they can get away with it. I'm angry at our officials for letting them get away with it. China orders Boeings, right? China orders Boeings. But now they want Boeing to build the plants over there. They don't want them made in Seattle. They don't want them made in South Carolina. They want the plants built in China. Okay? What the hell are they doing? Now China's going to have the biggest plants in the world. All of a sudden, Boeing's going to be a Chinese company like everything else. I want Apple to start building their computers here. Okay? What the hell good does it do? If they're building them in China, how is that really helping us, folks, okay? How is it really helping? And the one thing I've learned, I've seen millions of people now. I have the biggest audiences by far, but much bigger than Bernie Sanders, bigger than anybody. I will say he's second, but we're a long way ahead. I have the biggest audiences. One thing I'll say, we have unbelievable people. We have people that can really do this. I mean, I've never seen so many people and such great people and such smart people. So we can do it. So we're going to take back our jobs. We're going to strengthen our military. We're going to take care of our vets. We're going to get rid of Obamacare and replace it with something so much better. So much better. We're going to have that border, and it's going to be a real border. We're going to build a wall, and Mexico's going to pay for the wall as sure as you're sitting there. You're going to pay for the wall. They're making so much money. These politicians don't understand. They say, well, how are you going to get Mexico to pay for the wall? They're laughing at me when I say it. A lot of people have laughed at me over the years. Now they're not laughing so much, I'll tell you. They're going to take care, and we're going to do that, and it's going to be beautiful. Look at these people. They love Trump. Do you love Trump? Okay. And folks, here's the bottom line. Here's the bottom line. First of all, I really appreciate you being out here. If I would have stood you up, you should have voted against me. But here's the story. You got to get out on the 9th and you got to vote for Trump. If you're not going to vote for Trump, don't vote. The hell with that stuff. But you got to get out and vote. We've got to have a great victory. And here's the story. We're going to win so much again. We're going to win all the time. We don't win anymore. We haven't won in years. You look at the Iran deal. You looked at the Sergeant Bergdahl deal. You've got to get out and vote. We are going to win so much. You're going to be so proud of yourselves. I love you. I am so glad I made this ridiculous trip. I love you.
You didn't frankly have the balls to put country before party.